Somewhere in the Ardennes, a soldier opened a small package from home on Christmas morning, 1944. Inside was a bar of chocolate and a folded letter. He held them for a moment. Then the artillery started. He put everything back in his coat and pressed against the frozen wall of his foxhole. That was Christmas. Not everywhere, not for everyone, but accounts from multiple fronts across multiple years of the war describe the same shape. A brief gesture toward the day, and then the war taking it back. This is what Christmas looked like from inside the Second World War. The war ran through 4 Christmases, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944. Each one found millions of soldiers deployed across fronts, stretching from the Arctic to the Pacific. The season changed the temperature in some places and meant almost nothing in others. It did not change the operational requirements. Orders continued. Positions had to be held. Attacks were planned on the same calendar that, somewhere far away, families were gathering around tables. Some of those soldiers came home. Some did not. And for a few weeks in December, both groups existed in the same world, separated only by distance and the direction they were facing. On the Eastern Front, December was not a backdrop. It was a condition. Temperatures dropped to -20, -30, and lower. Equipment failed in the cold. Food, when it arrived, was often frozen before it could be eaten. Christmas 1942 arrived while German forces were encircled at Stalingrad. More than 200,000 soldiers were inside the pocket. A relief operation had failed. Food distributions had been cut. The wounded were accumulating faster than they could be treated. Records indicate that chaplains held services wherever shelter could be found, in damaged buildings, in bunkers, in positions still being shelled. Those services were not celebrations. They were acknowledgments of the date, of the people who were not there. Most of the men in that pocket did not survive to see the following Christmas. Thousands of miles to the west, in the Ardennes forest in December 1944, American units held positions in conditions they were not fully equipped for. Cold weather gear was insufficient. Foxholes had been cut into frozen ground. Resupply was inconsistent. Accounts describe mail arriving in some positions, letters in small packages sent weeks earlier, with no knowledge of where they would be received or under what circumstances. In others, nothing arrived at all. German forces mounted attacks on Christmas Day, 1944. The operational tempo did not reflect the calendar. For soldiers in the Pacific, the season arrived without its markers. No cold, no snow. The jungle looked the same in December as it did in July. The physical cues that, at home, signaled the approach of the holiday simply did not exist. Accounts describe the disorientation of that absence. The date was correct. Everything else felt like a different world. Patrols went out regardless. The war continued at its own pace. What Christmas meant in those conditions came down to one thing. Not the day itself, not tradition or ritual or food. What mattered, in the accounts soldiers gave years later, was connection. Evidence that someone, somewhere, was thinking of you specifically. Supply lines were disrupted across every front that December. Hot food was rare. Mail was prioritized when logistics allowed, because the military understood that letters cost nothing to move and mattered more than almost anything else a soldier could receive. But letters required functioning supply lines, and supply lines in December 1944 were not functioning everywhere. The human moments that accounts preserve from those Christmases are small. A letter read once and folded carefully away. A piece of chocolate divided between 2 men without discussion. 2 soldiers sitting in the same position in silence because there was nothing useful to say and the quiet was companionable enough. Someone moving along a line of positions to check on the men there, not because orders required it, but because it was Christmas. Soldiers later recalled these moments with a precision that larger events sometimes lack. The specific weight of an envelope, the temperature of food that had already started to cool by the time it arrived, the sound of a voice in the dark confirming that the next position was still occupied. Some letters were read once, some were never finished. These were the gestures the day allowed. They were enough to note and not enough to change anything. The war did not observe the date. Artillery continued in the Ardennes through Christmas Day. On the Eastern Front, operational activity continued through the holiday period. In the Pacific, patrol schedules did not change. Accounts describe quiet moments broken without warning, a barrage beginning while someone was reading, a movement order arriving while a small meal was being shared, an alarm cutting through the only silence of the day. Every calm was provisional. Every pause was temporary. The men in those positions understood this. The question was only what could be preserved inside the time the war allowed. The decisions Christmas in the field produced were not dramatic. Whether to eat the last rations now or save them. Whether to move to check on someone or stay in cover. Whether to write a letter back while there was still light. Accounts describe these choices without framing them as significant. They were simply the texture of the day, the larger situation breaking down into individual moments, each requiring a response. Some of those decisions had consequences no one could have anticipated at the time. A letter written immediately was the last one that arrived home. A man who moved to check on someone found someone who needed help. A ration save was eaten the following day when no resupply came. None of that was visible in the moment. Christmas 1944 ended the way it had begun, cold in the Ardennes, loud in some sectors, quiet in others in a way that was harder to sit inside than the noise. Some of the men in those positions came home. Some did not survive the weeks between Christmas and the end of the war. Some are listed as missing, their fates noted in official documents that record an absence without a confirmed explanation. The historical record from those Christmases is not a coherent story. It is a collection of fragments, accounts gathered years later, letters that survived, records that captured operational details without capturing what it felt like to be inside them. At home, in December 1944, Christmas looked like Christmas. In the Ardennes, it looked like a bar of chocolate in a coat pocket and artillery beginning before it could be eaten. Both things were true at the same time, in the same world, on the same day. The accounts that survive do not ask for anything in particular. They simply record what the day was, cold, interrupted, and human in whatever way the circumstances allowed. That is what the record holds, and it is enough. If accounts like these, grounded, specific, and human, are the kind that stay with you, consider subscribing. Share your thoughts in the comments below.